Hello everybody. Haven't done anything any updates lately. Just wanted to let everybody know that today I was really busy on some stuff around our hub, and there's all kinds of things that was happening down here. So just wanted to let you guys know there's cracks that is developing on Highway 132. So cracks developing on Highway 132. So hold up. What's up, man? I see it. Yeah, that bugger's getting more and more.
Yeah. He's fucking this down.
Yeah.
We just went talk to all these fuckers and they're going again. We was in there for hours today, by going house to house. Now they're fucking telling all kinds of people. Look out, get on driveway. Get on sit right here.
Yeah, right here on the top right here. So, oh well, I'm going to document this and then.
Not videotaping me.
No.
You're not gonna be
We're gonna drink. So yeah, we got some new developments here. We got some cracks that is developing right here. Check it out. Just spray painting this, So these cracks kind of look like there's a bunch of cracks on the road. Oh. Tons of people driving on this road right now. Here's a new development. We just spray painted this crack. But this is spray painting about an hour ago. Look how much new cracks coming out already. So the spray paint was about an hour and a half ago. But right here, look all the new cracks. You can tell by the old cracks because the old cracks get cracks, but look at the new ones. The ones next to them. All these, oh boy. These new ones coming out actually getting bigger. So yeah, this is so new development. There's cracks on 132. Cracks on 130 Highway 132. And and all the older cracks that was kind of being developed or was here, all the older cracks that was here, it's actually splitting more. So there's tons of people driving on this road still. This is like our only vein out of Lower Puna, but yeah, this is what's happening. And this is pretty much the epicenter of all the. You see it all right there. So again, this is 132. This is the start. This is the epicenter of all This is the epicenter of all the earthquakes that is happening now. And like I said, there's tons of people driving on this road. Look at that. So all this an hour and a half ago, we painted this. But look how much new cracks started to pop up. You can tell there's no grass in it. It's all black. And by you can tell these new cracks is because the tar is all black. Tons of old cracks here. So, oh, new cracks! So, yeah, like I said, tons of people are driving on this road right here. This is all the new cracks developing. Gonna watch how not that very big, but it's starting to get big. A couple of the older ones that was here. A couple of the older cracks that was here that we marked earlier is actually growing bigger. So be careful, drive slow on this road. So Highway 132. What's happening, man?
What's up?
There's new cracks. All these cracks, all new cracks right there. Yeah. 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 Okay, man. So yeah, tons of people are driving on this road, and there is new development of cracks coming on this road. You guys check it out. So if you guys coming on Highway 132, be careful. Let's see what's going to be here. All the new ones. Look how wide this was earlier, and it's getting bigger already. This one runs pretty far. So alright guys, as you heard it, Highway 132, new cracks are developing right around the epicenter of the highway. So hello everybody, stay tuned, stay classy Puna, aloha.
Report.
Of this road about like 5 or 6 times because of the amount of earthquakes that is happening on this road, Highway 132. So it's Highway 132. New cracks. I would take you guys out, but it's kind of raining right now. We're gonna go out. I'm gonna go out once this rain passes. Looks like it's gonna pass in a little bit. But these new cracks is actually forming right in the vicinity of Noni Farm Road. So we ended up painting the road. I ended up seeing these cracks about an hour and a half ago. Didn't look much, and I came back and these cracks are a lot wider, and there is more cracks being developed right now. So earlier we thought these cracks was just, you know, cracks on the road, or you know, the road deteriorating, nothing much. But as of right now, roads, cracks are getting wider and wider. So the thing about it is now there's a so much traffic on the road, and it's getting wider. It's kind of getting, depends on how wide it gets, but it's kind of getting a little bit dangerous. But you know, we have county officials down there already assessing the area, but you know, it looks like there's some cracks here on the right after this rain stops. I can show you. But earlier when I was going down, because there's so much cracks, you know, on the road because of just the road is kind of old. So there's grass growing out of those cracks, but these new ones is far. So old crack, you can tell it's new. So that's what we're seeing right now. Again, cracks are developing, and pretty much when I was standing here, there's like I felt one earthquake. And just to let everybody know, if you guys live down below, you guys use Highway 132, just be prepared to evacuate if you're on Lower Puna, Kapo, Pu'u, Red Road, Kahena, because if this something happens on this road, or lava passes this road, then we only got Beach Road or Highway 130. If they could put plates on the road over cracks are at. Put a quick band-aid. But we got a little bit of rain. Thank you for Pu'u, but and this road gets so much traffic. Oh wait, I'm going out in like 5, 4, 3. I'll go check. Show you guys. Hold up. Hold on. Tons of people using this road still yet, so It's actually right on a rift too. It kind of almost the same direction. It looks like it goes behind PGV, toward PGV. Oh, oh, this is the new crack right here. So this crack starts outside. Starts from outside. Cracks right across. And these ones are huge, getting bigger. So it's about an inch, half an inch to an inch wide. So, cracks, new cracks. Yeah, on this road. Don't know yet. Oh, these are very new cracks. Is developing. All new cracks. So yeah, just to let everybody know. Highway 132. Oh, hey, this one's is actually opening up already. It's pretty wide. So the ground is swelling. So hey everybody, that's the news. Right after Noni Farm Road, that's where the cracks are at. Aloha everybody. Stay classy, Puna.
And first at 5, the FBI and Honolulu police raid a Waikiki hotel room and find a large stash of loaded weapons.
Yeah, the arsenal included a high-powered rifle, hundreds of rounds of ammunition, and an assortment of other weapons, but the man wasn't arrested.
Lynn Kawano has a story from the Equus Hotel.
The FBI notified Honolulu police Thursday about a guest in room 803, saying he had disturbing posts on social media claiming to be a federal agent.
The 38-year-old claimed his mission was to hunt terrorist cells. When police arrived at the Equus on Ala Moana Boulevard, sources say they found an arsenal, an AR-15 and 15 high-capacity magazines, all loaded, a shotgun, 2 handguns, a total of more than 800 rounds of ammunition, plus 18 military-style knives and body armor. The weapons were legally registered to the man, and having them in his room was also legal.
There was no danger. The gentleman was here. He was a guest staying here. He left, and then there was an FBI and police investigation.
Sources say police did find psychiatric medication in the room, allowing them to seize the cache until a mental health evaluation can be completed. He was taken to a hospital for that.
He's no longer a guest in this hotel. He had a room here, and they're looking at the stuff in his room. I don't know that there were any weapons, okay? Okay. I think you'd have to talk to the police about anything like that.
The man has been living in Hawaii for about 3 years in a Makiki apartment. He had only been staying at the hotel for a few days.
The guest was not arrested or charged. If he is deemed mentally fit, he could get his weapons back. I'm Lynn Kawano, Hawaii News Now.
And we'll continue to follow this development on this investigation. And for updates 24/7, you can go to hawaiinewsnow.com or download our free mobile app.
On the Big Island, residents from Kopoho to Kalapana should be on alert tonight.
The area Makai of the current active area of Leilani Estates needs to be ready to evacuate at a moment's notice. It's being done as a precaution because of a possible volcanic eruption and more toxic fumes. That's why Civil Defense closed all beach parks in Lower Puna. Evacuation shelters are still open at the Pahoa and Kea'au community centers, where volunteers have already helped more than 400 people. Scientists say that swath of coastline could be at risk for eruptions or isolation if lava blocks access to the roads.
The area that is downslope of the region of the rift zone that has received new magma in the form of this intrusion, or that could receive new magma if the intrusion continues to progress to the east.
Scientists are closely monitoring Halema'uma'u crater for a possible explosive eruption. The lava lake there dropped about 1,000 feet, and if it reaches the water table, it could send ash and cow-sized boulders of lava into the air. That's why the FAA issued a temporary flight restriction over Kilauea, meaning everything within 12 nautical miles and 20,000 feet above the summit is off limits. President Trump has signed a disaster declaration for the island, freeing up funds to help with recovery efforts.
And our teams have been on the ground there since the first eruption. Our Mileka Lincoln checks in with residents rushing to find breathing masks.
But we begin with our Mahealani Richardson live from Lyman Airfield at the Hilo Airport. That's where the Hawaii National Guard is preparing for a worst-case scenario when it comes to the lava threat. Mahea.
That's right, Steph and Sean. The Hawaii National Guard says it is ready for a mass evacuation of 2,000 people if they get the call. Right now, they're preparing for the worst. I wanted to show you some of the big birds that they have on their arsenal. Right behind me is a H-860. That's basically a flying medevac. It has its own crew, its own medical crew, and like an ambulance, can actually go to the lava zone if needed. And right behind me, you see that metal part that's hanging for the helicopter. That's actually a hoist, and that can be used to drop several hundred feet down, maybe about 300 feet down. It can actually penetrate the forest because it is so heavy, and that's what will be used to pluck those evacuees out of the danger zone. Now today we got a look inside the Emergency Operations Center, and it was quite a sight in there. Now officials say they are preparing for the worst, and so when we ask them what is the worst, it's actually twofold. It would be a steam-induced explosion at Halema'uma'u crater, and also if the lava surrounds any communities and completely cuts off access. Let's hear what they had to say.
Definitely hits home. It's nice to be a part of a mission that is in our backyard. At the same time, it's surreal.
Worst case scenario that we're planning for is a major eruption or a major fissure that opens up in the East Rift zone that would isolate the certain communities below Leilani Estates, and then also block off certain roads that the community needs to evacuate the area.
Now, the first airman you saw, he's actually from Pu'u, so this mission hits close to home. Now, 108 members of the Hawaii National Guard are here ready for this mission. They will call for backup if backup is needed. Back here live at Lyman Airfield, again, very impressive. Medevac helicopters behind me. They have never been used for a rescue mission yet because they are brand new, but they are ready at a moment's notice. Reporting live from Lyman Airfield, I'm Mahialani Richardson, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you very much, Mahia. And another concern, falling ash from Hawaii Ma'u crater. Officials warn it could be widespread on the Big Island.
Yeah, and that could be a concern, especially for people with respiratory problems. The Department of Defense says that you should close your doors and windows. You can even put damp towels to prevent the ash from getting in. You should also protect any electronics and disconnect drain pipes from gutters, and that will allow the ash to empty straight to the ground.
Anyone using water catchment systems should also disconnect their tanks. Folks with health problems should avoid going outside. Farm owners and ranchers should also have clean food and water. And if you are a parent, make sure you know your child's school emergency plan.
And with the warnings from emergency officials, many folks are trying to find breathing masks anywhere they can. Our Mileka Lincoln continues our team coverage.
Within 15 minutes this morning, Pahoa Auto Parts was completely sold out of these protective respiratory masks. And they don't even have these N95 versions to offer customers.
There ain't no more.
There's no more, you guys, after
That's
us.
the last. We get only 10 left. So.
They think housing is a problem. Housing is not an issue if you can't breathe.
Mike Metcalf of Pahoa Auto Parts says his order came in incorrectly, and now he has 300 carbon cartridges and no masks to connect them to. He says until more masks arrive, families with children, elderly, even pregnant women are being turned away. Metcalf says it's time for the government to step in and help. Sources tell me officials are concerned that without proper fit training, the respirators could be more hazardous than helpful.
We really want to take measurements to protect the children right now. We have masks for them, but I don't know if any of them are really small enough for the small baby.
Respirator masks, cartridges, and pre-filters cost about $25 a person and come in 3 different sizes. Health experts previously said the N95 version, similar to medical face masks, would provide adequate protection. But as the level of sulfur dioxide in the air continues to elevate, that's no longer the case. Officials now say the best way to stay safe is to steer clear of the area completely. But they do confirm any mask helps to guard against exposure to ash. Again, while this is the respiratory style mask officials are recommending, they say if all you can get your hands on is this N95 version, don't toss it. They say every bit of protection, even the littlest amount, is better than none. Reporting from Pahoa, Mileka Lincoln, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you very much, Mileka. And the volcanic haze has made it to Oahu. On the left, you can see just how heavy the fog was this morning. Now live, you can see that haze continues to fill the skies.
So how long will these conditions last? Let's get straight to our meteorologist, Jennifer Robbins. Jen.
It's not going to last very long, at least for the rest of us. That's a different story for Hawaii Island. We do have those south winds. We've been tracking that all week long, and they have arrived, and that's why we're seeing the fog spread towards the west. And not a whole lot of shower activity, but a few heavy showers over interior sections because of the sea breeze effect. Taking a closer look at the air quality, you could see dispersed all the way towards the west to even the Garden Isle. By the time we get to tomorrow, it backs off, and that's because the trade winds are making a comeback and swift speeds as we head into Sunday. So that's good news for the rest of us. But even though the trade winds are picking up, it's still a very serious situation. Here's the UH-VOG model on Hawaii Island. All of the plume swaying back and forth across the entire island, and the sulfur dioxide levels continue to be high. I'll have more on that and also your Mother's Day forecast coming up soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Jen. A warning now on the Pu'u relief effort. The Salvation Army has received reports of people posing as workers in an attempt to collect donations from Big Island businesses. The organization wants to remind the public that it does not solicit donations, monetary or otherwise, that way. Here on Oahu, people who want to help the eruption evacuees can drop off donations at Pier 51A on Sand Island Parkway tomorrow. The Hawaii Stevedores will be holding the drive from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. They will be filling up a 40-foot container to ship to Puna. You can bring non-perishable goods, diapers, tarps, and other household items. Look for more details at hawaiinewsnow.com.
Coming up, a strain of the deadly fungus that kills ohia trees spreads. Plus,
this sign says it all. Manoa Elementary School, they're world champions.
You're watching Sean Ching and Stephanie Lum on Hawaii News Now, your source for breaking news.
The Big Island's Hawaii Volcano's National Park isn't the only closure in the state. The USS Arizona Memorial is also off limits because of structural concerns. Now, tourism leaders are afraid that the news of Hawaii disasters and closed attractions could be bad for business. Our Chelsea Davis joins us now live with more on this. Chelsea.
Yeah, Sean, Hawaii tourism leaders want visitors to know Hawaii still has a lot to offer, although Hawaii Volcano's National Park on the Big Island, Kalalau Trail on Kauai, and now the USS Arizona Memorial here at Pearl Harbor are all closed right now, all of which are very popular tourism attractions. Industry officials tell us it's still too early to tell the impact these back-to-back disasters will have on tourism here. George Zaghetti, president and CEO for the Hawaii Tourism Authority, says they're seeing some cancellations, but not a dramatic decline, and they hope to keep it that way. Visitors here at Pearl Harbor today tell us they were a little disappointed, but not letting it ruin their vacation.
Little disappointed that it's closed, but that doesn't change our plans. You know, we're still here experiencing a piece of history, and that's the most important part about being here.
I'd say it's unfortunate, a little disappointing, but so we're still happy to be here. We'll still go out, make the best of it.
Well, if you go to Pearl Harbor, you'll still be able to do harbor tours. You're still going to be able to go to the Bowfin, the Missouri, the Aviation Museum, which is amazing. So there's still a lot of things to do.
The Hawaii Volcano's National Park is closed until further notice because of the possibility of a steam-induced explosion at the summit, and Kauai's crown jewel, the Kalalau Trail, is still closed from last month's historic flooding. And it's just a coincidence that boat transportation to the Arizona Memorial here at Pearl Harbor has been suspended until further notice. Crews are repairing a crack in the structure. Reporting live from Pearl Harbor, Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Chelsea. The self-proclaimed pirate accused of extorting money from flood victims on Kauai settled allegations he ran illegal boat tours. Stephen Coyne was accused of running the tours at least 3 times in November. Investigators say Coyne continued advertising and operating his tours despite warnings. He was arrested for extortion last month, but released pending investigation. For the first time, rapid ohia death has spread to a neighbor island. State officials made the discovery in a remote area of the Oloa'a forest on Kauai's northeast side. At least 5 trees tested positive for the disease. Right now, officials aren't sure how it got to the Garden Isle or how long it's been there.
If there's any silver lining to this, it's that it isn't the more aggressive form that causes widespread mortality and kills trees very quickly. However, we're still going to treat this very serious.
Until now, rapid ohia death was only found on the Big Island, killing off more than 75,000 acres of native trees. Right now, there's no way to rehabilitate an infected tree.
Here's a live look outside. This is Hilo Bay. Of course, tomorrow, or actually this weekend, is Mother's Day on Sunday. How will Mother Nature be treating moms across the islands? Our meteorologist Jennifer Robbins will have all the details in her weekend outlook. Her weather forecast coming up next.
And how's traffic looking? Let's check in with Danielle Tucker.
It is slow but steady heading to the west side on the H1 freeway going westbound. You can see by earlier stalled vehicles. It's not backed up in the flat so much going westbound as it is going eastbound. From City and County of Honolulu's Traffic Management Center. It's not backed up in the flat so much going westbound as it is going eastbound. From City and County of Honolulu's Traffic Management Center, I'm Danielle Tucker. You're watching Hawaii News at 5. We'll be back right after this.
Have to go downrift before they flow out of the rift zone. So it's a complex potential scenario. But to the north, there are more exit routes for those communities. Then another question I've forgotten. Oh, about gas emissions. Yes, we are currently in a strong trade wind pattern, and that will bring gas from these fissures along the rift zone, primarily to the southwest, where some of those coastal communities that you mentioned are.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Alicia Hardiman. Your line is now open.
Hi, this is Alicia Hardiman, freedomizerradio.com. I want to ask about the current seismic activity at Mauna Loa that you're observing. Are you anticipating any activity at this time, and could there be a risk of a 1984-style event?
Hi, this is Brian Shiro with USGS. So we are getting a few missed locations of earthquakes on Mauna Loa that we quickly review, and so far, they have turned out to not have been there. And so If you see earthquakes occasionally pop up on Mauna Loa, go check again a little while later. Our staff is looking at those closely. We certainly are highly sensitive to the fact that everyone is paying attention and that the volcanoes are acting up right now, of course. Mauna Loa itself, though, is showing no signs of unrest beyond what it's been doing. In fact, if anything, it's been showing lower unrest lately than it has in the past year, let's say. So there's no reason right now to think Mauna Loa is doing anything leading to eruption.
Thank you. I think that clears it up.
Our next question comes from Joseph Anthony at Cato's News. Your line is now open.
Good morning. Joseph Anthony, Cato's News. I read that the recent activity effectively beheaded the 61G episode. Could you explain in more detail the reasons for this? Does it likely put an end to the future of surface lava breakouts in the area and in general, as well as the previous ocean entry lava? Thank you.
Yes, on April 30th, after a number of weeks of inflation or accumulation of melt within the Pu'u edifice, the summit of the Pu'u edifice collapsed deeply into the rift zone, and effectively that collapse cut off or beheaded the supply that was feeding the episode 61G lava flow heading south towards the ocean. At this time, there's a very low likelihood, I would say an impossibility, that 61G will return in its form pre-collapse. We have seen no evidence of lava returning into the deep crater below Pu'u, although we'll keep an eye on that. But I think for the time being, until the lower east rift zone activity ends and the situation at the summit changes, we are not likely to see a resumption of activity at Pu'u.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Elena with EOS Magazine. Your line is now open.
Thank you. Can you explain scientifically what you mentioned a few minutes ago, why the arrival of fresher, hotter magma could be of concern, and how this would look different and behave differently from the type of magma we're seeing now?
For hotter, fresher, gassier magma coming to the surface can result in more voluminous lava flows. In other words, a higher effusion rate of lava with higher lava fountains means more accumulation of molten material on the surface, therefore the potential for larger, faster-moving lava flows that travel further. Current material coming out of the ground is a little cooler. It's full of microlites, so it's a little bit more viscous than hotter, fresher basalt would be, and so it's really not traveling very far. But perhaps more importantly, we're just not having a very large flux at the surface. There's not a lot coming out. So once a new batch of hotter, gassier magma makes it to the surface, we might see larger, higher eruption rates.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Allison Blair. Your line is now open.
You guys answered my question.
Our next question comes from Tom Callis with the Tribune Herald. Your line is now open.
Yes, hi. I know you guys don't have a crystal ball, so I hesitate to ask this question, but is there what might be causing the current pause in the eruption? Could it be that that 55 magma has now been, that storage has now been depleted for the time being?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It was interesting that for many days, the tip of the dike, based on the seismicity that Brian described, seemed to be stalled at a point along the rift zone where there was a little structural offset right in the vicinity of the eastern Leilani Estates. And so perhaps there was some kind of barrier there holding back further propagation of the dike. Now that apparently has been overcome, and so the dike is on the move again. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off of effusion, perhaps, at the fissure system if the dike is translating in a northeastward direction. That's one hypothesis. I can't think of another one at this time.
Tom, this is Janet at HBO. In the 1955 eruption in the same area, there were pauses between outbreaks of up to 5 days. So this is not out of the realm of...
Thank you.
At this time, we're showing no further questions.
Thank you. That just about wraps things up. I'm delighted to see it stick to less than half an hour. Kilauea Volcano beckons our scientists. Before I say goodbye, I do want to remind people, keep an eye out for
in a listen-only mode until the question and answer session of today's call. At that time, if you would like to ask a question, please press star 1. Today's conference has been recorded. If you have any objections, please disconnect at this time. I would now like to turn the meeting over to Leslie Gordon. You may begin.
Hello and welcome. My name is Leslie Gordon at the U.S. Geological Survey, temporarily here at the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory at the summit of Kilauea Volcano. Today is our daily briefing, and I have 2 important announcements. Past few days, we've let this call go on for about an hour, but Kilauea beckons sooner than that. So I'm going to try and keep this call to a half an hour, including questions today. Secondly, we've said that we're going to try and do this as a daily briefing as often as much as possible. There is a small chance that over the weekend it may not be a daily briefing, and we will try to keep news media informed of that with our normal notice advisory email procedures. So do stay closely tuned. It will depend on the hazards and volcanic activity whether or not we have briefings tomorrow and the next day. So I want to introduce the first speaker today is Tina Neal, spelled T-I-N-A. Neal is N-E-A-L. She is the scientist in charge of the USGS Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, and she has an update for today. Go ahead, Tina.
Good morning. So as of this morning, we still have a highly active volcano here at Kilauea. The eruption along the lower East Drift Zone continues to be paused in terms of lava and spatter emission. There has been no new lava and spatter emission, at least in the last 24 hours. However, earthquake activity remains elevated in the region. Ground deformation continues, suggesting or that the dike of magma within the rift zone is propagating further to the northeast down the rift zone. So the situation remains unstable, and additional outbreaks of lava are likely. That's the main message about the lower east rift zone. Also, hazardous levels of sulfur dioxide gas continue to come out of the fissures and are a severe hazard for people in the near area. Up at the summit of the volcano, we continue to deflate and presume that the lava column that's in the overlook crater vent continues to recede within the volcano. It went out of sight, essentially, as of yesterday, confirmed by field observations. And since then, we've had a fairly continuous plume of steam coming out of the crater with intermittent, occasional bursts of ash that are likely produced as rocks fall from the steep inner walls of the overlook crater down to the bottom, wafting rock dust, and it's very pinkish in color because of that rock is highly altered thermal activity that goes on around the conduit for 10 years now. So the situation of the summit also remains fairly dynamic, and even though we have no conclusive evidence that there's significant involvement of groundwater in what's going on deep in the overlook vent, that is something we are watching for. I want to say that we have a number of new excellent resources on our website, just posted this morning. There's a timeline of events that you can review to see where we are up to today. We'll try to keep that as updated as much as possible. Also a link to a new VOG dashboard that has a lot of information about the hazards related to volcanic gas and volcanic ash. So please visit our website for that information, and I will stop there. Let me introduce, we actually do have a second speaker today. I want to introduce Jessica Ferricane with Hawaii Volcano's National Park. Jessica is Jessica, Ferricane, Ferracane. And she is the Public Information Officer with Hawaii Volcano's National Park. Go ahead, Jessica.
Oh, good morning, everybody. Sorry I was a little bit late. Working on some communications messages this morning. Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, I just in the nick of time. So yes, good morning. As everybody knows, Hawaii Volcano's National Park closed on Friday, and that is due to the ongoing seismic activity and the anticipated explosive steam event and possibility of rock and asphalt here at the summit of Kilauea Volcano. And that closure still impacts most of the park. Only the Kahuku unit of the park is open at this time. That's during its normal operating hours of Friday through Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that is a 1-hour drive south of the park's main entrance in the Ka'u district. This closure began, well, technically last night, and it will continue until further notice when it is safe to reopen the park, the main part of the park. And why? Well, due to the anticipated steam-induced explosion at the summit, the receding lava lake, the possibility of everything I just mentioned about the rock and asphalt event. I'm repeating myself there, so I just said that. But what's new? That's probably what you guys all want to know. What's new is at the request of the park, the FAA has issued a temporary flight restriction that extends 20,000 feet above ground level and extends out 12 nautical mile radius around the summit of Kilauea. The only flights that are permitted are NPS-approved rescue operations, that type of thing, safety flights, basically. So USGS, NPS flights. Editor's note, for all of you who are not lining up on Highway 11 right now, I want to remind everybody, you will not be allowed into the closed section of the park, even if you're news media. I'm sorry, the park, this part of the park is closed. That is a hard closure. No exceptions will be made. If you have interview requests for NPS or USGS, they will be held outside of the park or on the telephone. Media are prohibited from setting up cameras near the entrance station of the park for safety reasons. We had a lot of people trying to set up there this morning and creating a traffic hazard with visitors who are being turned away. You're right in the middle of where people need to turn around. So please do not set up in that area. We will have law enforcement go out and intervene if necessary. If you set up on Highway 11 outside of the park, do so safely and do not create or become a traffic incident. None of us need that right now. You guys don't need that either. So please be safe. It is a beautiful day up here at the summit. There are beautiful views of the plume from outside of the park, but please, you set up cameras or you're coming up here to take photos, please do so safely. The end.
Thank you very much, Jessica. I'd like to turn the microphone back to the USGS Hawaiian Volcano Observatory. Another seismologist we have with us today is Brian Shiro. That's B-R-I-A-N, not brain. Shiro, S-H-I-R-O. Brian is a seismologist with the Hawaiian Volcano Observatory, and he has a statement to make.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So as you heard, the status of the volcano is that in a state of unrest. We're monitoring situation down in both the East Rift Zone as well as the summit. In terms of earthquakes, they've been very important in seeing the unfolding situation since April 30th at the Pu'u collapse. Watch the earthquakes march down the East Rift Zone, which is the propagation of the dike underground. Since May 9th, about 2 days ago, we started to see the earthquakes progress more eastward past Leilani. So the assumption there is that the dike is pushing eastward past Leilani. As Tina mentioned earlier, do expect other eruptions. There's steaming cracks been reported elsewhere. Also, we're monitoring the summit very closely. There were a lot of earthquakes at the summit following the magnitude 6.9 earthquake on May 4th. We expect aftershocks to continue for some days and weeks. Those earthquakes that were triggered by that major earthquake at the summit seem to have been tailing off. So summit seismicity in terms of earthquake numbers is down at the moment. We remain vigilant to watch out for the explosion hazard, and we have been seeing a number of rock falls in the caldera that do produce seismic signals. In addition to all this, deformation monitoring is ongoing, which is very important for us to also infer what's going on beneath the ground, watching tilt and GPS, as well as getting satellite INSAR images to interpret the propagation of these dikes underground, and as well as the deflation at the summit.
Thank you, Brian. I'm not sure that we have a speaker from Hawaii County Civil Defense on the line with us. Is there anyone from Hawaii County Civil Defense? I believe they were not able to make it to this morning's briefing, and I urge all of you to go to their website for the most recent updates and alerts. So what I want to do now is open it up for questions. Again, we've got a good more than 20 minutes for questions. I'm going to try and keep it. Please, individual reporters, keep your questions to one question at a time so that everybody gets a chance, and we'll come around again as time allows. So, Operator Ernest, please open up the lines for questions.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press *1. Record your first name and your affiliation. Your name is required to introduce your question. To withdraw your question, you may press *2. Again, if you would like to ask a question, please press *1. One moment, please, for our first question. Our first question comes from Allison Blair. Your line is now open.
Hi there. Good morning. I was wanting to ask about, you've been talking about increased activity in the area of Highway 132 and Noni Farms Road. Can you be as specific as possible and describe what you're seeing there or any new areas of activity, and also how you're monitoring that area? Talk about the types of technology being used there to gather information.
Allison, can I ask you to please give us your affiliation, please?
Yes, I'm with Hawaii News Now.
Thank you.
Allison, hi, this is Brian Shiro. So the monitoring down in the lower East Rift is a combination of seismometers as well as GPS, and we deployed extra instruments in the as this event has unfolded. So there are 4 new stations that we brought online down in the lower East Rift that help us more closely monitor seismicity as well as the deformation going on down there. So that's one of the reasons that we, for example, can better detect these earthquakes as they migrate eastward. And we'll continue to, as we can, adjust our detection capabilities as this event unfolds. So these instruments include broadband as well as short period seismometers, which are sensitive to different types of ground motion, and as well as strong motion instruments that are sensitive to acceleration. And then GPS is similar to the GPS you might be familiar with in your phone or in your car, where it measures the actual movement of the ground in this case.
Next question, please.
Our next question comes from Tom Callis, Tribune Herald. Your line is now open.
Hi, is there any concern that as the magma or the lava lake recedes by Kilauea, that the caldera itself could become less stable without that magma there to maybe support it?
Yes, this is Tina Neal. At this time, we are not considering that a possibility in the very near term. We have yet to see the kind of drawdown or deformation or subsidence at the summit that occurred in 1924, which is a previous event that led to steam-driven blasts here at the summit. So as a deformation event summit, we're still smaller than the last time this happened. If the event were to progress and increase in intensity and we were to continue to see additional drawdown that indicated even deeper draining of the summit magma reservoir, then yes, we could be heading into what you described, but at this time, there's no evidence that that is coming.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Tim Wallace. Your line is now open.
Hi there, this is Tim Wallace. I'm from the New York Times. I know no one is there from the Hawaii County Civil Defense, but I was hoping maybe someone else has some insight on this. 2 nights ago, it was mentioned that there were 36 structures, including 26 homes that were damaged or destroyed in Leilani Estates. I'm wondering if there's an update on that since it's been 24 hours without any activity there.
That was on their update. Sorry, my name is Janet Babb. I'm with the USGS. But the county is posting updates on a regular basis on their website. And the one this morning did not indicate any additional houses being damaged. But please check with the county webpage for the actual facts.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Sherry Bracklin, Mahalo Multimedia. Your line is now open.
At last night's community meeting, Steve Brantley gave an outstanding presentation, and I understood him to say that the lava coming out in Leilani Estates is actually lava from the 1955 flow. If I understood that correctly, could you, Tina, expound on that a bit, or somebody?
Sure. Based on our initial look at the actual rock samples and some very quick chemical analyses done by our partners at the University of Hawaii in Hilo, it does appear that that is the likely explanation for what has come out of the ground so far. It looks to be similar to the 1955 lava chemistry. It's cool, it's a little sluggish, and that's one reason we haven't had well-developed lava flows yet. So that is our working hypothesis, that indeed what has first come out of the ground is magma that has been stored in the rift zone since 1955. What we are, of course, all wondering will happen, and will make a turn for the worse in terms of hazards, is if fresher, hotter magma makes it to the surface behind that. And indeed, that could be what is coming, because we know that magma is moving down the rift zone, and that magma may be fresher and hotter. But as of yet, we have not seen that at the surface. But that is one of the changes in surface activity and characteristic of eruption style we will be watching for. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Justin Duty from the Wave at 92 FM.
The potential activity at Kilauea Volcano has been referenced as a nuisance event, possibility, explosive steam event, deparation event. I believe there's a 1925 USGS webpage refers to what happened then as an explosive eruption. Are these different scenarios? Is there a unified term for the event, or are these different possibilities, different scenarios?
Let me see if I can untangle that. In 1924, there were a series of steam-driven explosions from the shallow portion of the Kilauea system that produced a ballistic blocks fall around the Halemaumau vent, and then a farther distribution of ash fall. I'm struggling at the moment to refer to the semantics here. That was considered an eruption because it produced material that was ejected into the atmosphere, but it could have also been considered a series of explosive events within an eruption. Forgive us for having different terms for the same thing. The reference to the word nuisance refers to our discussion that in general, ashfall events, unless they are significant in terms of thickness, largely are a nuisance in that they are not life-threatening. And so for most communities downwind of the activity that we expect, or the activity that happened in 1924, they will be dealing with potentially multiple small ash falls, accumulations of perhaps millimeters or so. And in general, again, that is not a life-threatening event. That can create some problems for water supplies and gutters, so ash gets wet, and it's certainly a concern for eye hazards and respiratory issues. But these are all manageable impacts. And again, if you could go to our website, we've put up a lot of great guidance about how individuals and businesses can deal with ashfall impacts. Does that answer your question?
I'm sorry. What I was trying to get to is a term that the media can refer to the possible event as being. It doesn't seem real clear that there's a unified term for it, except the word event.
Yeah, I think that the best word to use is a steam explosion, steam-driven explosion.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Vivian, NBC News. Your line is now open.
Hi. I'm just asking about, we're hearing reports that there's a potential concern at the Pu'u geothermal ventures due to an underground storage well of hydrogen sulfide. So if that lava was to encroach on that area, there could be a possible explosive event. I'm wondering if anyone could characterize what is going on there and what is being done about it, and how significant an event like that might be.
This is Janet Batt. I'm with the USGS. For the answer to those questions, we would refer you to PGV directly or to Hawaii County Civil Defense.
Understood. Thank you.
Our next question comes from Chris Leonard, U.S. Broadcasting. Your line is now open.
Thank you. Civil Defense at 11 o'clock today issued a precautionary message saying that residents from Kapoho to Kalapana should be on the alert for gas emissions and potential volcanic eruption. Looking at the earthquake swarm, which has moved further east in that rift zone, are these the areas that you see as most likely to be impacted, and are there other areas that you would be concerned about based on the activity that you are seeing now?
Yes, this is Tina Neal. That is indeed the area that is downslope of the region of the rift zone that has received new magma in the form of this intrusion, or that could receive new magma if the intrusion continues to progress to the east. The southern areas that you mentioned are along a coastline, and there is special concern about roads being cut off that would limit egress routes for residents. So in part, the Civil Defense is being cautious about planning for potential evacuations. But yes, indeed, that swath of coastline could potentially be at risk of lava inundation or isolation with roads being cut. The area to the north of the rift zone is not completely out of harm's way either, because it really depends which way the lava flows. If they peel off of the rift zone. The rift zone in that part of the volcano is kind of a complex topography. It's a bit of a basin, a lower area, and lavas have to find exit points, and in some cases will have to go downrift before they flow out of the rift zone. So it's a complex potential scenario. But to the north, there are more exit routes for those communities. Then another question I've forgotten. Oh, about gas emissions. Yes, we are currently in a strong trade wind pattern, and that will bring gas from these fissures along the rift zone, primarily to the southwest, where some of those coastal communities that you mentioned are.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Alicia Hardiman. Your line is now open.
Hi, this is Alicia Hardiman, freedomizerradio.com. I want to ask about the current seismic activity at Mauna Loa that you're observing. Are you anticipating any activity at this time, and could there be a risk of a 1984-style event?
Hi, this is Brian Shiro with USGS. So we are getting a few missed locations of earthquakes on Mauna Loa that we quickly review, and so far they have turned out to not have been there. And so if you see earthquakes occasionally pop up on Mauna Loa, go check again a little while later. Our staff is looking at those closely. We certainly are highly sensitive to the fact that everyone is paying attention and that the volcanoes are acting up right now, of course. Mauna Loa itself, though, is showing no signs of unrest beyond what it's been doing. In fact, if anything, it's been showing lower unrest lately than it has in the past year, let's say. So there's no reason right now to think Mauna Loa is doing anything leading to eruption.
Thank you. I think that clears it up.
Our next question comes from Joseph Anthony at Cato's News. Your line is now open.
Good morning. Joseph Anthony, Cato's News. I read that the recent activity effectively beheaded the 61G episode. Could you explain in more detail the reasons for this? Does it likely put an end to the future of surface lava breakouts in the area and in general, as well as the previous ocean entry lava? Thank you.
Yes, on April 30th, after a number of weeks of inflation or accumulation of melt within the Pu'u edifice, the summit of the Pu'u edifice collapsed deeply into the rift zone, and effectively that collapse cut off or beheaded the supply that was feeding the episode 61G lava flow heading south towards the ocean. At this time, there's a very low likelihood, I would say an impossibility, that 61G will return in its form pre-collapse. We have seen no evidence of lava returning into the deep crater below Pu'u, although we'll keep an eye on that. But I think for the time being, until the lower east rift zone activity ends and the situation at the summit changes, we are not likely to see a resumption of activity at Pu'u.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Elena with EOS Magazine. Your line is now open.
Thank you. Can you explain scientifically what you mentioned a few minutes ago, why the arrival of fresher, hotter magma could be of concern, and how this would look different and behave differently from the type of magma we're seeing now?
For hotter, fresher, gassier magma coming to the surface can result in more voluminous lava flows. In other words, a higher effusion rate of lava with higher lava fountains means more accumulation of molten material on the surface, therefore the potential for larger, faster-moving lava flows that travel further. Current material coming out of the ground is a little cooler. It's full of microlites, so it's a little bit more viscous than hotter, fresher basalt would be, and so it's really not traveling very far. But perhaps more importantly, we're just not having a very large flux at the surface. There's not a lot coming out. So once a new batch of hotter, gassier magma makes it to the surface, we might see larger, higher eruption rates.
Thank you.
Our next question comes from Allison Blair. Your line is now open.
You guys answered my question.
Our next question comes from Tom Callis with the Tribune Herald. Your line is now open.
Yes, hi. I know you guys don't have a crystal ball, so I hesitate to ask this question, but is there any, what might be causing the current pause in the eruption? Could it be that that 55 magma has now been, that storage has now been depleted for the time being?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It was interesting that for many days, the tip of the dike, based on the seismicity that Brian described, seemed to be stalled. at a point along the rift zone where there was a little structural offset right in the vicinity of the eastern Leilani Estates. And so perhaps there was some kind of barrier there holding back further propagation of the dike. Now that apparently has been overcome, and so the dike is on the move again. So that takes a little bit of the pressure off of effusion, perhaps, at the fissure system if the dike is translating in a northeastward direction. That's one hypothesis. I can't think of another one at this time.
Tom, this is Janet at HBO. In the 1955 eruption in the same area, there were pauses between outbreaks of up to 5 days. So this is not out of the realm of...
Thank you.
At this time, we're showing no further questions.
Thank you. That just about wraps things up. I'm delighted to see it stick to less than half an hour. Kilauea Volcano beckons our scientists. Before I say goodbye, I do want to remind people, keep an eye out for email media advisories. We only have tentative plans to hold another briefing tomorrow, and we probably won't make a decision until the last minute whether to do it, depending on current hazards and current eruption activity. So this is Leslie Gordon from the U.S. Geological Survey. Thank you very much for joining our briefing today. Bye-bye.
This now concludes today's call. All lines may disconnect at this time.
Have a Mother's Day to remember. They each gave birth to sets of triplets, in all 6 boys and 3 girls, and it all happened at the same hospital just a few weeks apart.
It's a lot to take in, but it's a good feeling. It's definitely a good feeling.
Your heart is just so full. I think that's the biggest thing is I never thought my heart could love so much.
Oh, well, I can't wait for that moment, too. Well, their names are Dylan, Riley, and Ryan, Christian, Kevin, and Connor, Morgan, Araya, and Regan. So beautiful little sets there. A lot to handle, right?
Yeah.
A lot to handle. You know, I hope that they're going to get a van pretty soon because they're going to with all groceries and putting them inside. Diapers galore, the feeding.